I had given up on role playing, and a lot of people in my age group, because I turned 20 in 1984. To kind of tell you what that age group is, and a lot of people in my age group had really kind of done our early fantasy role playing and had burned out on it for a number of reasons. This is actually kind of before the Satanic Panic. We were the group just that weren't really hit hard by that. And a lot of us had burned out, and a lot of us came back through Champions, and a lot of us played for years and years and years. Now, that first generation had its own quality. The hero system is something else. When you had Champions third edition, there's an ad in the back that advertises the hero system in terms of Danger International and the various other publications. But the hero system as such didn't exist as a thing. There was no publication of it. There was no, for lack of a better word, there was no SRD. So that means that it was kind of still a lick and a promise at that point. Only later would something be called Hero System. And Champions 4th edition is the version of Champions that goes with the Hero System. So first generation is kind of pre-Hero System. It is very focused on making these comics. It's not focused on making a system that's going to cover every last little way to play. It was very much on there is, in broad strokes, concepts, purposes, and points of play. And the system was very, very strong in that regard. And my argument is that it didn't stick around. The virtues of the hero system, the virtues of 4th edition Champions and 5th are their own virtues, a different kind of set of virtues, a different set of aesthetic purposes, a different set of ways to have fun. And so without any sense of, edition awards, I know it's almost impossible to say that, but without, I hope, any sense of edition wars.
So why do you think, because I mean, Champions doesn't tend to get the due as being as influential as it has been. Why do you think that's the case?
Geez, that's one of those multi-layer cultural questions of the hobby that, in some ways, I don't think anybody will ever fully answer. There was, you see, and the trouble is I can't couch my answer in terms that won't look like blame or something like that. I'm just going to speak from pure historical events that probably some other people would be better to ask. I'm quoting, the people I've talked to, the people in Hero Games. And the point being that just infrastructurally, Champions was not under the authorship of the game creators after about 1987. So just the transition into the hero system, don't forget that Iron Crown Enterprises was involved. Champions had got licensed to or bought. I guess it's a complicated form of licensing, which is more or less buying.
Most of Hero Games history is fairly complicated.
Right. So, but the point being is that now this is under Iron Crown Enterprises, and through any number of things that I have no intimate knowledge of whatsoever, it's clear that the drive toward a generic system was immense. The GURPS had really blossomed and carved out this immense niche of, we are the universal system, you can play anything, our point structure handles it all. And the hero system was basically, going with GURPS neck and neck, at the same time. The version of Champions for the hero system was not focusing in the same way on that emergent story property. It was beginning to look very much more like, for example, they did have canonical characters now. They did have a canonical setting that their adventure packs were set in. And it was very much oriented toward the points are the way that anything fictional is expressed, which is not the way the first generation Champions worked at all. And so the way that it worked was manifestly different. I nominally used Champions 4th to continue to play after 1989, partly because as the new edition, everybody had bought it and nobody was gonna, nobody was gonna go back. I mean, this was, the official. So, but I and many other people found that we continued with a great deal of the practices from first generation. In my case, endurance, among other things. And so a lot of the people who contributed to the app of the Clobbering Times were playing, they might have had fourth edition on their table, but we were still pretty much playing philosophically using the previous ones. So those are just some of the things that come to mind. Oh, well, that's the thing. For the development of the hero system as such, and this was under ICE, you have Rob Bell, and he came in for that express purpose. That was his job. He's going to make the hero system. He's going to editorially oversee that. You know what? It's exactly the equivalent of Jim Shooter coming into Marvel. Kind of laterally and saying, my job here is to clean house. This place is kind of a mess. And it's time to clear out stuff that's not working out or that I'm finding disorganized looking or I can't see where it's going. And it's time to make sure all the pieces are a lot more fitted together. And it's time to make sure that, this is a package that anybody can pick up from any angle. Geez, I'm even quoting Shooter right now. You can pick up, the package of what we do here from any angle, that is to say, any title for comics or any product for the game line over in Hero Games. And it's an entry point. Every point is an entry point, and you're going to get the same message and the same philosophical look at it. You're going to get the same, thing. Now, a lot of people are going to say that that's a good thing. And in the case of Shooter and in the case of Rob Bell, I will acknowledge that. In many ways, that is a good thing. It is at the very least good business. And so, and Shooter could bust out a script. There's no question about that. The man was perfectly capable of writing comics. And the same thing goes for Bell. I mean, Bell was completely competent at this job and did a fine job of making, admittedly, one of the more salad-like rules sets available. This, you know what it's like. I mean, I got them right here.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is just the three books, right? And then there's my shelf over there, and they're all dog-eared, and they all look as shitty as these do, and they all and it's a mess. I mean, you're flipping through that supplement and running your finger up and down the column, going, but it says over here, and I like it that way. And so, I mean, even God, I could go on. Champions 3, okay. Here it talks about limited uses as multi-power slots because people who know the old rules know that you put limited uses on a multi-power. Now basically your multi-power costs nothing, and you've got 8x6 killing attacks and God knows what in there, and no endurance either, right? It's just basically just free mayhem. And so everybody was buying everything on limited uses and multi-powers, and it was just ridiculous. Well, they've got a line in here which sort of was a desperation move that you cut the number of charges in half when you did that. So you didn't get as many charges when you did that. But you know what? That only appeared in the later printings of that book. The first printing of it didn't have it. So you see what I mean about the text salad, right? I mean, it was just crazy. So I can totally see the merit of anybody coming in and looking around, just like Shooter did in the 1977 bullpen. And he's like looking around, and he's a DC veteran, right? He's going, what the fuck? Is that pot I smell? Why is there a hippie sleeping in my office? And so you can kind of see why, with his point. And this, you can see the same thing with Bell. You take a look, and you have this ICE's looking at this property and going, are you kidding me? And Bell comes in and goes, okay, stables, here's my shovel, stables are on the way. It's time to clean. I can see the point. But do you see what I mean about, okay, but their philosophy of play and of most of the people contributing at that time, with a couple of exceptions, was very much going to follow that line. This is going to be digestible. This is going to be coherent. This is going to be understandable, but it's also going to be a little tamed. It's going to be a little more like what a role-playing game is supposed to have. It's going to have its setting. It's going to have its sense of uh, comfort zone, right? You're going to play it and it's going to be like this. The standard notion of corporate success, that when you buy the product, whoever you are, wherever you are, it's going to taste the same. And that's a virtue, in that line of thinking. And that's kind of what happened with it. Does that help a little
Um,
bit? I mean, again,
no,
no blame, no blame. I'm
oh
not
no, no.
pissing on
Yeah, I
anybody.
mean, those kinds of questions are always hard because there's always going to be somebody who's going to think, well, he doesn't like my version of things, or yeah. So,
Well, I might not, but so what?
well,
Right? I mean, so what? I don't care if he doesn't like mine. I mean, I'm talking to people who might be interested.
realize that your champions may vary.
Right, right.
Referring to the old Greg Stafford
Hmm.
ism of your Gloriantha may vary.
Which I always thought was one of the great phrases.
Yeah,
Not a dodge, not an excuse, not a weasel, but a
yeah,
statement of fact. And if that's the fact, let us embrace the fact.
yeah. Because I mean, everyone focuses on different things, even when they're using the same base text, and I think that's where a lot of the excitement for role playing games comes from, is the fact that you and I can have the same text and really play two different games out of it, and
It's
both of
yeah,
them are right.
yeah. It's kind of a tricky question if we want to get to that level of discourse. In that, I like to think of it as musical instruments, so that yes, you and I will play differently on the same electric guitar, but then there's another instrument entirely over there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's two kinds of differences. There's what you and I do with the same instrument, and then there's the fact that there are in fact different instruments too. So,
Right.
like I get real cautious when talking about different what is even meant by the word different games.
Right.